Hey, passion is a great starting point when you're making placements, recruiting franchise candidates, working with candidates who want to buy their own franchise, but it won't pay the bills. In this episode, we're going to talk about what nobody's talking about. We're going to dig into the real reasons why your franchisees struggle, even when they love the brand as much as they do. If your system is full of heart, but a little bit short on results, this episode is for you. We're talking about why passion isn't enough.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profit Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Shin.
Hey, everybody, welcome back. Every time I go to record, I start to get something in my throat, but I'm back. I'm glad you're back. Welcome to the Franchise Pitfalls and Profits Show, the one where we get real. We start to talk about the things that nobody else is talking about. We're talking about what works. We're talking about what's broken. We're talking about what matters in building responsibly and building sustainable franchise systems. Today, we're going to dig into an interesting topic because I believe this is the core driver of any franchise brand's success, and that is franchisee performance, unit level economics, unit level revenues and profitability. Because if your franchisees aren't thriving financially, then your system isn't growing, or it's really not growing very much. And quite frankly, it's probably leaking. So that's what we want to talk about. So no matter how great your product or your service is, how slick your marketing and your branding is, poor unit level economics is going to kill your growth. Maybe you're getting a good spurt early on or here or there, but your long-term responsible, sustainable growth is going to die. Emerging brands in particular, you face this because your first 5 to 10, your first dozen locations, if they struggle to ramp up, that's going to hurt your validation. That's going to slow your planned momentum. Candidly, that's going to scare off your next 20 or 30 future buyers. Mature brands, you face this sometimes too. In fact, over my last 18 months or so of talking to established brands, when you've got 50 or 100 or 200 locations and a third of them are underperforming, that becomes a brand-wide drag. It's not going to kill your franchise, but it's going to be a drag. And you are the ones I've been talking to a lot about this because we're seeing it a lot. I will tell you almost 100% of the time, when I talk to senior or tenured or larger mature brands about, do you have excited, passionate franchisees? Yeah. Do you find about a third of them just seem to underperform? They're below average. They're okay. They're not going to fail, but they perform below average. And they all go, yeah. So you can't fake profitability, and this is going to cause a drag, even if you're a mature, well-established brand. So why do the franchisees underperform? So let's talk about root causes. And spoiler alert, it's not about your marketing. Number one is they probably don't understand their numbers. Do they even track their numbers? I've seen it hundreds of times where a passionate franchisee who can't read a simple P&L, they don't understand things like cash flow. They can't seem to tell the story of their numbers. They don't understand what it's really doing for them, and they don't know how to course correct because they don't really know what the numbers are all about. So that's one thing. They don't know their numbers and they don't understand them. The second is they lack basic business skill sets. Franchising gives them a system, and yes, you teach them how to run your business if you're the franchisor, but you're not teaching them the fundamentals of how to run a business. Things like cash flow management, things like pricing strategies, things like hiring locally in local markets, things like the dynamics of involvement potentially of vendors and cost controls that they have influence on and control over. So again, they don't understand basics of business. They lack that business acumen. A third thing is that sales and local marketing, it's just not natural to many of your franchise buyers. They don't have sales training, and candidly, your unit owners, your franchise partners have to be the primary spokespersons for their business in their local markets. So what happens is a lot of times the new franchisee opens their doors and waits, very, very passive. But no matter how good your brand is, foot traffic doesn't magically appear unless the owner is becoming part of the fabric of the community and that the owner understands their customers' buying habits and buying psychology. A fourth thing is leadership and people management are weak in these candidates that are underperforming. They don't know how to lead a team. They might be great with customers, but they struggle in the hiring space. They struggle in the training space. They don't retain the best employees. And consequently, they're stepping in, they're filling in when Bobby or Susie or Johnny don't show up for work or quit without even a phone call. The owners are stepping in, and then that takes the owner away from the things the owner should be doing. I don't care if your honestly, if your unit is or your concept requires only 3 or 4 people or 30 or 40 people. They still need to know how to hire, train, retain, and be leaders in their own small space. A fifth thing is that a lot of these underperforming unit owners, franchise partners, never set or revisit any goals. They maybe had a thought of where their business should go. Maybe during your new franchise partner training, you've mapped out where certain stores are, certainly during validation. They've heard where certain units in certain markets are doing certain amounts of business. But they don't set goals. And if they set them, they maybe set them once a year. And then, 15, 18 months later, they think about it again. So if your franchisees don't have clear, measurable goals behind, I hope I grow, they are going to stall. Goals give directions. Planning gives focus. Metrics gives people feedback and things to measure against and things to track and things to drive their business with. So those are some of the most common reasons why franchisees underperform. It's not from knowing their or it is from, not from not knowing their numbers to lacking just core business basics that you kind of assume they know when they come into your brand, but they don't. So I think what's really interesting here is that most of these folks, they don't fail, but they don't underperform because they don't care. In fact, many of them are your most passionate franchise partners. So that brings me to what I call the passion trap. Franchise development teams love to find someone who's just all jazzed up, fired up about the brand. And so they see that as a quick win. The development team's excited, the candidate excited, everybody seems motivated. Hey, we're all aligned here, aren't we? But I think passion unchecked hides these gaps that I've been talking about. And when no one's talking about those gaps early on, AKA your Fran Dev teams, then your system isn't built to fill them on the upside. And that's why you're seeing some of these most passionate people when they started, you're seeing them struggle. So let me break that down a little bit for you. Let's dive into here what I call the passion trap. It's something I've been seeing across the board, certainly in emerging brands, because you don't know what's coming. But again, even in those tenured brands, because you just don't dive into why this 30% or so of your franchise partners are doing okay, but they're underperforming. They're a little bit below average, but they're incredibly passionate. And that's why you awarded them the franchise. So love the product. They're excited. They're coachable even. And you award them that franchise. So here's the problem. Nobody talks with them about their gaps. Have you ever run a business before? Do you understand basic financials? Maybe you're a child enrichment franchise and you're selling your franchises to teachers. That's wonderful. They're going to take care of the kids. They're probably going to take care of the parents, but they don't understand financials because they didn't teach that in teacher school, so to speak. Another point is they've never led a team. Are you talking with them how, hey, our business it requires you to hire 20 to 30 people? Well, I've only ever supervised these 2 or 3 people in my little accounting department. So they've never really led teams. And they don't know how to market locally and sell locally. They don't know how to integrate themselves into the community, become what I call a fabric of the community. So here's where it gets risky, because you as a franchisor, if that's who's listening, typically your onboarding, your support systems, they're just not built to teach these fundamentals. Your ops teams are focused on compliance, brand standards, the training system. Are we training how to use our software, training how to do this inside the unit? You're training on the system, and your classic onboarding, your classic trainers in your franchise, they don't have the time, and in some cases, they might not even have the experience to really coach someone through foundational business skills that are going to make the franchisees money and are going to make you as the franchisor money. So what are you to do? So you might be thinking, yeah, we give them training, Don. That's enough. Don't you think? Well, training isn't the same as transforming them into becoming really successful business owners. So most of your franchisor training, again, it's going to cover systems, how to operate the software, how to operate equipment if there's equipment. What are the brand standards? How to use the logo? These kinds of things. You focus on how to follow. You don't teach them how to lead as a business owner. And you stop at the launch. You stop right where the work really begins for your franchise partners. And again, that's what goes on in franchising as a franchisor. So what can you do? What should you be changing? Well, here's where it's going to get real. As a franchisor, you can't run their unit. Sometimes they buy a franchise thinking you are going to run the unit, but you can't do that. You can't be responsible individually for 50 or 100 or hundreds of units in your system. You can do some support, but again, that's only going to go so far because it's supporting them in what you taught them and what they learned simply about your system. So what's the solution? I think franchisors should be equipping franchisees to become business owners and not just operators. What do I mean by that? Well, provide or make arrangements or open up the opportunity for them to get a business education. Not just, again, how to follow the system, but how to succeed with the system. Not just operations and your ops manuals, which I'm sure are wonderful, but I'm talking about business training that a lot of your passionate franchise partners didn't bring to the table when they joined. Another thing is equip them to be owners and leaders. Again, not just operators either. I think I talked about that one twice. Third one, create community and accountability. I think performance grows when your franchisees connect, when they share, and either in some, even in some cases when there's healthy competition. But create community in your organization. That should be a natural one, but I don't know that I always see it. And sometimes it can happen as a training class moves forward. That's good. I think franchisors should also be building stronger onboarding, not just compliance checklists. Did we go over all of these things? I think you need to immerse them more in the business, not just orient them to the business. And I think regular reviews at the unit level about their economics needs to happen. Make profitability a standard conversation. Not a post-mortem after they're not performing well, or God forbid they've actually failed. Help franchisees to take action based on their numbers. I think that's really critical. I honestly, I think a lot of franchisors avoid this conversation of profitability, and I really think unit economics should almost start at the profitability. Certainly revenues, but you've got to include helping your franchise partners be more profitable. So franchisees that aren't trained, if they're not supported, if they're not challenged to understand their numbers and run their business, a part of running their business based on their numbers. And if you don't do that from day one, they are never going to grow. Franchisees that are fumbling around a bit, or they start okay because their passion carries them for a while, they're going to stall. But when franchisors step in with true franchisee enablement, I think unit performance improves. You don't necessarily individually inside the franchise yourself be responsible for teaching them these things, but align yourself with suppliers and vendors. Open the door and promote to your franchise partners the types of things that they should be doing, the gaps that you've now created relationships that allow them to step in and step up to more learning, more training, and to really become business owners and not just operators. If you do this early on, your unit performance will improve. Well, actually, if you do it from early on, your unit performance is always going to be higher than when you don't do it. Your validation will also go up. One of the things we find with our clients is that the culture of the community is dramatically improved when they get this foundation for success type training, when they get their gap training addressed. And it just creates overall long-term success, long-term growth. So here's my question to you as we wrap up. If you're the franchisor, are you setting your franchisees up to operate, or are you setting them up for dramatic, thriving type success? If you're nodding along with me, realizing that your training may not be closing these gaps, Franchise Building Expert has developed the program that you need. It's called Foundations of Success, Franchise Foundations of Success. It's a 6-module training system that walks your franchisees through sales, through marketing, through leadership, through business basics 101, through how to use systems, not just learn how to operate it, but how to use it for growth. And lastly, how to set objectives and goals and then measure them. So it's not a compliance checklist. It's a gap filler. It's not fluff. It's training that they actually need to perform and be profitable. So direct mail me to find out more about how this program could help your brand, because strong franchisees don't just happen, they are built. Hey, that is going to be it for today. If you found value here today, please, please, please like us, throw some comments in, do me a favor and become a subscriber. I've been doing this for over 2 years now. There's a vault full of knowledge here on the Franchise Pitfalls and Profits program.